now want to go over Chapter 7, A Family's Fight and the Legal Journey After TBI. If you're watching this, it's likely that you or someone close to you has experienced a traumatic brain injury and you're looking for clarity and support. In this chapter, we'll talk about what it means for a family to embark on a legal journey after brain injury and the resilience required to seek justice. I'm here to help you understand and navigate what can feel overwhelming. We've covered a lot of ground from the technical side, the causes, medicine, law, but now let's center on something deeply important, the family's journey when a loved one suffers a traumatic brain injury. This chapter is about the human story, the emotional and day-to-day battle that families face, and how the legal process interweaves with that fight. It's a journey of resilience, adaptation, and advocacy. For personal injury attorneys, understanding this human aspect is key to being a compassionate and effective advocate. For families of TBI victims, hearing that others recognize and validate this struggle is immensely important. Let's start by imagining a family's life being turned upside down in an instant. One day, everything is normal. Bills, school drop-offs, jobs, dinner, together. The next, an accident occurs, perhaps a serious car crash where the father of the family suffers a head injury, or young adult son takes a hard fall at a construction site. In the immediate aftermath, the family's first fight is for survival and recovery. They fight to spend days or weeks at the hospital bedside, praying their loved one wakes up or shows signs of improvement. It's an emotional roller coaster of hope and despair. Often traumatic brain injury is called a family injury because it doesn't just affect the individual, it affects everyone around them. Once the immediate medical crisis stabilizes, a new phase begins, realizing that life will not snap back to the way it was. This is when families often face the silent catastrophe. Up close, their loved one looks like the same person from the outside. Maybe their cuts and bruises have healed, but their behavior or abilities are different. It can be a silent and devastating ordeal because friends and extended family might not fully comprehend it. The injured person might come home and seem okay superficially, leading some relatives or coworkers to wonder why the family is so distressed. But the family sees the subtle and not so subtle changes. The father who can't remember to turn off the stove, or once jovial son who is now withdrawn and easily angered. As we discussed, because the injury is not visible, like a broken bone, it can be misunderstood or dismissed. Even by well-meaning people, families often feel isolated. An invisible injury can lead to very real loneliness as friends fade away when they don't understand the new challenges. The family fight is multi-front. Emotionally, they are grieving the person that was, while trying to love and support the person that is. There's a term sometimes used, new normal. It's a hard concept, essentially. The family must adjust to a new reality of who their loved one is post-injury. That can come with profound sadness. Close family members frequently experience anxiety and depression themselves in the years following a brain injury in the family. Spouses might feel a sense of loss of partnership or feeling overwhelmed by becoming a caretaker. Children might feel like they've lost part of their mom or dad or who can't play or interact the same way. It's heavy. Financially, the family often faces strain. Perhaps the primary breadwinner can no longer work, or a parent has to quit their job to become a full-time caregiver. Oh, the bills. They're starting to pile up. Rehab, medical medications, doctor visits, maybe specialized equipment or home modifications. Many families go from 2 incomes to 1 or none, right when expenses skyrocket. It's not uncommon for families to burn through savings and worry about the future. The financial pressures of a TBI are a burden the family shares, not just the injured person. Daily life becomes a series of challenges. The impact of a TBI reaches nearly every aspect of the daily living. For example, The family might have to establish strict routines to help the injured member function. Sticky note reminders everywhere, alarm prompts for taking medications or completing tasks, structured days to avoid cognitive overload. They might need to assist with basic activities like bathing, eating, or getting dressed if they are physical deficits. If the injured person has personality or behavioral changes, the family must learn how to respond. The spouse might learn to avoid triggers that upset the injured partner, or kids might have to learn that dad isn't intentionally being irritable, it's the injury. This takes patience and understanding well beyond their norm. Families often find themselves juggling roles. The spouse might become a nurse, therapist, guardian, on top of being a partner. Children sometimes take on more responsibilities. Maybe the oldest child now helps manage the household, chores, or cares for younger siblings because mom is busy taking dad to the doctor appointments. There's a restructuring of family duties. This can lead to strain in relationships and role changes. The dynamics shift. It's a lot for any family to handle. Now layer on top of this the legal journey. At some point, perhaps early on or a bit later, the family realizes they need to pursue a personal injury claim. Maybe the doctors or social workers suggest it, or a friend refers them to an attorney. This adds another dimension to their fight, the fight for justice and financial stability through the legal system. Engaging in a lawsuit can be daunting for families. They might be initially hesitant. We've never sued anyone. We're not litigious people. They may worry that it will be stressful or invade their privacy, but often they come to see it as necessary because of the mounting costs and uncertain future. When a family embarks on a legal journey after a TBI, a good lawyer will ideally become part of the support system. Attorneys who handle these cases often try to be empathetic and guide families step by step. The tone we aim for is one that is warm, clear, and deeply empathetic, but also giving assurance that there is a way forward. A phrase law firms use is that they stand by their side of TBI victims and their families throughout the recovery and legal process. And truly, a dedicated attorney will get to know the family's story intimately, often spending time just listening to what they're going through. The legal process itself can be long and sometimes frustrating. From filing the claim through discovery to possibly even trial, it could take a couple of years or more. That's a long time when you're also caring for an injured loved one. Families may have to participate in depositions, which means answering a lot of questions under oath about a very personal matter. That can feel intrusive, discussing your spouse's personality changes or your child's new struggles in conference room with lawyers. And it can even feel like an injured person's integrity or the family's truth is being questioned, because the defense, as we covered, might insinuate things. This part of the journey requires fortitude. Many families find strength in the truth. They know that what they're saying about the injury is real, and they hold on to that. It's often a team effort. The attorney gathers evidence, but the family provides so much of it. They keep journals of the symptoms. They collect medical records. They help identify witnesses who can speak about the before and after. Family members might serve as key witnesses themselves, telling the jury how life has changed. That's not easy. To get up in court and recount the hardest thing that they've ever happened to their family is no small task. And in front of strangers, and likely in front of the defendant who caused it. It does take courage. But when a wife testifies choking up about how her husband is, here but not the same, or a parent describes their once independent child who now needs supervision, it can be incredibly powerful. The family's genuine testimony often cuts through the courtroom's formality and touches hearts, which can be a turning point in a case. As the legal case progresses, families have to manage expectations. They might wonder, will the case go to trial or settle? How much will we get? Will it happen soon enough to help us? Attorneys should keep them informed and temper unrealistic hopes while fighting hard for the best outcome. It's a balance of being a realist and an optimist. An interesting aspect of the family's journey is that sometimes the legal fight itself provides a sense of purpose or empowerment. It's something constructive they can do. They couldn't prevent the injury, but they can fight to secure resources for the future and hold the wrongdoer accountable. It channels anger or grief into an action plan. Some families derive strength knowing that they're seeking justice, not only for themselves, but sometimes to send a message so that others don't suffer similarly. For example, if it was a negligent driver or a company that violated a safety rule, standing up to them can feel meaningful. However, there are also emotional ups and downs tied to the legal process. A family might feel validation when an expert backs up what they've said, or when the defense doctor reluctantly admits the injured party has real issues. They may feel disheartened, though, if the defense lawyer insinuates something negative. Ultimately, when a settlement or verdict comes, it is often a complex emotional moment. There's a relief and gratitude for the support it will provide, possibly vindication that someone has been held responsible, but also sometimes a bittersweet feeling. No amount of money truly fixes what's broken. Families know that. Winning a case doesn't give them back the life before the TBI. It gives them the means to deal with the life after TBI. Speaking of after, the journey doesn't end with the legal resolution. In some ways, that's just one chapter, albeit an important one. The family's fight continues in the day-to-day caring and adapting, but ideally a successful legal outcome eases some of the burdens. It may fund a professional caregiver so that the spouse can go back to being more of a spouse than a nurse, or pay for therapy that improves the injured person's capabilities, or enable modifications that make the home life easier. It can reduce the financial stress so the family can focus more on emotional healing and quality time. Families often say that a lawsuit isn't about the money per se, but about getting the injured person what they need. When that is achieved, there's a sense of justice and a foundation to move forward. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of a hypothetical family for a moment to illustrate the journey. Imagine the Lee family, Sarah and Mark Lee, in their 40s, with 2 kids in middle school. Mark is a software engineer. Sarah is a school teacher. One evening, on Mark's drive home from work, a truck driver who was texting blows a red light and T-bones Mark's car. Mark is rushed to the hospital with traumatic brain injury. Sarah gets that heart-stopping phone call. The first nights are agonizing. Mark is unconscious. Doctors aren't sure if he will fully wake up. The kids are confused and frightened. Sarah practically lives at the ICU, holds Mark's hand, takes talking to him, praying. Extended family fly in to help with the kids and support her. Mark pulls through, but it becomes clear that he's not the same. He has serious cognitive and behavioral issues. He doesn't remember the accident, which is a common due to trauma-induced amnesia. As Mark starts rehab, Sarah juggles hospital visits with the kids' needs. She uses up her sick leave and eventually takes a leave of absence from work. Her students get a long-term substitute. Income is now halved. When Mark comes home, he can walk and talk, but he's easily confused and angered. He can't manage simple tasks like paying for bills and cooking. Sarah finds him one day putting soap in the oven, thinking it was a baking pan. She realizes she can't leave him alone for long. The children, who were used to Dad helping with homework and cracking jokes, now tiptoe around him because he gets irritable. One night, Mark yells at his son for moving his keys when he actually misplaced them himself. The son breaks down in tears, not understanding why Dad is so angry. Sarah spends that night comforting their son and then crying on her own after everyone's asleep, mourning the loss of a partner who used to co-parent and share her dreams. Sarah decides to contact a personal injury attorney recommended by a friend. She's nervous, but from the first meeting, the lawyer is compassionate and explains that they can likely pursue a claim against the trucking company. The legal team gets to work, but they need a lot from Sarah. They're going to need documents, permission to access Mark's medical records, accounts from how Mark was before versus after. It's emotional labor for her to document her husband's decline, but she does it because she knows it's needed. During the lawsuit, the defense doctors examine Mark. One insensitive doctor insinuates that Mark isn't trying hard enough or that maybe depression is the issue. Mark, pre-injury a calm man, gets frustrated during the exam now and storms out, which the doctor later spins as psychological issues. This enrages Sarah. It feels like they're blaming Mark for what they caused, but their attorney uses that to demonstrate Mark's impaired impulse control as genuine TBI symptoms. The case takes 18 months, a tough period where Sarah has to answer tough questions in a deposition, like has Mark ever been treated for mental illness before? Did you have marital problems? Fishing for other causes? She holds firm, telling the truth. No, none of these issues existed before. Our life was happy and stable. Finally, the case settles a month before trial for a structured settlement that will cover a life care plan and provide monthly income replacement. Sarah feels a weight lift. The money means she can hire a part-time caregiver to help with Mark and perhaps return to teaching part-time, which she loves, or at least knows the bills will be paid. They can afford the new therapy that the insurance denied. The settlement also includes funds for the kids' college, acknowledging Mark likely can't earn what he planned for their education. On the day the settlement is approved, Mark, who has moments of clarity, takes Sarah's hand and says softly, "Thank you for fighting for me." It's one of those rare moments he seems like his old self. It fills Sarah with both joy and sadness. The family will never be the same as before, but now they have support to carve out a new life. They take it one step at a time, celebrating small improvements in Mark's condition, adjusting expectation, and in cherishing the fact that they still have each other, albeit in a transformed way. The Lee's family story is just an example, but it encapsulates the arc, the trauma, turmoil, adaptation, seeking justice, and finding new equilibrium with support. Every family's specifics differ, but many themes are common. The initial shock and crisis, the realization of lasting changes, the strain on relationships and finances, the empowerment and relief that can come from a successful legal fight, the continued love and commitment that keeps them going even when the roles change. And importantly, the fact that they do not fight alone with the help of extended family, community, medical professionals, and the legal team. One beautiful thing I've seen is that families, through such adversity, often discover strengths and support they never knew they had. They may connect with groups, finding camaraderie and others who get it. They often become advocates or sources of information for new TBI families, sharing what they learn. Some families even engage in awareness campaigns like helmet safety, anti-texting, driving campaigns, turning their pain into purpose. In conclusion, a family's fight after a TBI is as much a legal journey as it is a personal and emotional one. It's a marathon, not a sprint. The tone that we've aimed for, empathetic, warm, but clear, is exactly the tone families need from everyone around them during this fight. Understanding both the medical, legal terrain, and emotional landscape is crucial. As a personal injury attorney, I often wear many hats, not just legal counsel, but sometimes quasi-counselor, educator, and always an advocate. Families on their part show remarkable resilience. They become caregivers, case managers, and protectors of their injured loved ones' dignity and rights. As we wrap this up, I want to acknowledge the hope that underpins this journey. While TBI is often a catastrophic, life-altering event, the journey is not solely defined by loss. It's also defined by the strength of the human spirit and familial love. Many TBI survivors do make improvements over time. The brain can heal slowly and find new pathways. Families adjust and find new ways to connect and find joy. And through the legal system, many find sense of justice and the means to rebuild their lives. This entire series has aimed to be educational and supportive, combining expert knowledge with empathy. I hope that you've gathered some additional information, especially if you're a family that's going through a traumatic brain injury. I encourage you to watch all of the videos because I've done several of them. If you have questions of any of them, including this one, our office is here to help. My office is Kelly Law Team, and you can reach us at 602 283 4122.